Welcome back to the Kaspa Silver YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the origins of DAGLabs and Polychain, and basically if these things are issues, because there's a lot of concerns about DAGLabs and Polychain and Kaspa being a fair launch coin. I've addressed this in the past, but since new people keep coming on, I think a new video should hopefully help people to understand the background of how Kaspa was originated and why fair launch is still super important, and Kaspa is a fair launch coin. So first, let's just start with explaining DAGLabs. So DAGLabs, founded in 2018 by Jonathan, and it was backed by Polychain and lesser accomplice and Genesis Mining Investments in the amount of $8 million to implement GhostDAG protocol in the open source code of the coin, and to develop and later sell and lease an optical ASIC mining devices for that coin. If you read the articles of Jonathan, you will actually see that originally DAGLabs was not going to be this company that just dissolves. Instead, it was actually trying to be a company to sell miners for Kaspa, and there was actually going to be some type of allocations and stuff like that by locking your Ethereum up, and then you would get Kaspa later airdrop to you in the future and all this kind of stuff. But none of this stuff happened, and we're going to get into, basically what happened here. So by the mid 2021, it was decided there's no sense to continue funding the development since optical ICs are not ready for factory grade implementation, and in general the interest to proof of work coins is ceased in the cryptosphere. So by the agreed decision of Polychain and DAGLabs, the project is henceforth stated as owned by the community, while DAGLabs and Polychain waive any intellectual property rights. By the start of mainnet 2021 November 7th, DAGLabs still exists, but in the half-sleeping mode, supporting several developers on a part-time basis and waiting for the mainnet launch. After a launch, DAGLabs starts mining on the common grounds, slowly spending the remnants of the initial funding in the amount of several $100,000 USD to mine Kaspa on a rented Amazon hardware. By late December, the GPU miner is written by the community member Haunted Cook, and then later also is cooperated with Dem Israel. So DAGLabs switches to another type of rental hardware. Mining on rented facilities lasts for about 5 months, after which the finances are finally exhausted. These mine coins in the amount of not more than 3%, probably close to 2.5% of the max supply, obviously less than 850 million Kaspa, are shared between investors, Polychain, AL, and the former employees, advisors, etc. of the DAGLabs in some proportion. DAGLabs is officially closed. After that, took some time to dissolve a legal entity, wasn't operational at all during that time. And they have links to all this, and this is all in the Kaspa wiki, and this is the thing. This stuff has been addressed multiple times. This is not a secret. This is purely on the Discord. Everyone should know this by now, but of course new people come on, and if they don't do their due diligence, they just may see something such as tweets claiming that Polychain and DAGLabs is an issue. There's like a meme in the Kaspa community. There's a guy that sold all of his Kaspa at like 0.004, I think, because of his fear of Polychain and that they're gonna dump on everybody because they have close to around 3% of the supply. But you could see here, Polychain alone does not have 3% of the supply. It was dispersed between Polychain and DAGLabs and the employees at DAGLabs, which were about 30. From my research, there was about 30 employees. So it was distributed among them. And again, that's only 3% of the supply. But the whole point of all of this is that it was fair. It was fairly done. This wasn't done pre-allocated to the public. Kaspa was already known. They launched in November of 2021, and anyone could have mined it. And that's the whole point of being fair launch, is that anyone could have mined it or bought it or whatever if they wanted to, if they knew about Kaspa. And Jonathan explains basically how fair launch is just used like we say fair launch, but it's really never fair, because if you think about it, like, it's not fair that Satoshi got to mine 1 million Bitcoin before it was the masses were able to understand Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. But Satoshi still mined 1 million Bitcoin, and that's actually like around 4.30% of the whole entire supply of Bitcoin. And people aren't complaining that oh, Satoshi mined 1 million Bitcoin, I'm not going to buy Bitcoin. And of course, it's because it's been many years. But it's the same case with Kaspa here. Kaspa here has 3% mined fairly, and way more fair than Satoshi mining Bitcoin, because adoption for crypto is much easier now. And this also explains the supply and why we have a fast emission schedule. Kaspa was originally trying to do a schedule like Bitcoin, but the problem is they realized adoption was coming so fast, so they had to upgrade the adoption rate and introduce a ton of more coins as part of the circulating supply. Not only because Kaspa is not supposed to be a store of value, it's supposed to be used like cash, so there should be more coins in the supply, but also the fast emission rate is to accommodate the fast adoption rate that Jonathan knew and what he was expecting to come. And also they did not want ASICs to be on the network without majority of the supply already in circulation. So you could see also back here that we can see DAGLabs raised overall $8 million. The project initial biz plan was to develop optical proof of work like ASICs and sell and distribute their hash rate. As it described in some Medium posts, I thought of it as a good middle ground between decentralization and sustainability. The fact that this plan failed is indeed a failure of DAGLabs as a profit for entity. The reason it failed was a combination of the immaturity of optical proof of work ASIC tech and my together with Polychain's assessment that pure fair launch is the only path to give Kaspa. And in fact, any proof of work coin, true chance at growing to meet its goals/dreams. If you think Polychain's support of this is weird or even suspicious, then you probably hadn't had the chance to engage with crypto VCs. As I said in TG, crypto space has seen way more bizarre instances than a VC supporting fair launching over no launching at all. So, the funny thing is, people who complain about this fair launch issue, and they try to say like, oh, this 3% is an issue or whatever, when they got it fairly, they're probably holding coins that literally have 50% of the supply that the team owns, the VCs own, and other investors own, and they're continuously dumping on investors to fund their development, when Kaspa is fully community funded and they require donations to actually progress. And because of this transparency and because of the people behind the project, it's actually been successful. That has actually been good because people actually believe in what's trying to be built here, and especially as it is community oriented and it's completely organic growth. So going over here, one of my followers here said DAGLabs raised $8 million for them to buy mining devices to mine majority of Kaspa during its first year. Almost 50% of the supply was mined during its first year, which means majority of these coins were mined by them, comparing to Bitcoin around 15% during first year. So, the claim that majority of the coins was mined by the team is just not true, because it's clear that 3% went to DAGLabs and Polychain basically, and it was dispersed to the employees there. So it was around 840 million Kaspa, but it's not like one person has the 840 million Kaspa. It was distributed to a group of people, and not only that, they were competing with other people who were mining, because anyone that knew about Kaspa at the time was mining. And I spoke to Shai about this, and he said it was actually pretty competitive. And you could see also that CPU mining didn't even last that long. By December, GPU mining was out, and I'm pretty sure all the GPU miner YouTubers were finding Kaspa pretty early on. I mean, I was looking at Son of a Tech's older videos, and I think the oldest video I found about Kaspa was 10 months ago. So that would bring it into 2022. But for sure, there was people that were finding Kaspa over time because it was GPU mineable. So it was being dispersed to a lot of different people. So, is this the reason why the mission schedule of Kaspa is designed like this? With this, will you still consider it fair launch? How does this impact decentralization? And then Shai responded, no, the Polychain investment funded development, only a small portion of it was spent on mining. All the mining was done in competitive terms, giving a fair chance to anyone. Eventually, DAGLabs mined a total about 800 million CAS. He's going to correct this. It's around 840 instead. And then he says half of it went to investors and the other half divided among DAGLab former employees. So another comment here that's interesting to read. While so many people get gasping respiration when talking about the 3%, surprisingly, I've never heard whether it would not have been more favorable if DAGLabs had mined more to give main contributors more flexibility, / how CAS is doing so well with just 3% divided. We openly stated that we hope to mine more, but were back by how unexpectedly fast the adoption was, which is why I find claims of exclusive circle speed mining so laughable. But as usual, hardship breeds ingenuity, and this circumstance led me to come up with the community funding model, which is used to this day and I consider a great success. In the big picture, I prefer it this way: having the community fund progress, decentralized development. If the original or any contributors want to keep being funded, they must continuously prove themselves to the community. I think this is much healthier and then some particular team historically entitled to all the funding by right of reality, which in most cases lead to stagnation and dead chains, which is so very true. The fact that it is community funded means that as long as we're pushing basically the developers and the people behind it to actually work on the chain instead of the chain already having allocated funds to development, they can kind of sit back and relax because they know that they can just, when they get these coins unlocked, they can just dump on investors and keep funding their development during the bear market or whatever to try to survive and just keep stealing money basically from investors. So I really, really like the fact that Kaspa is built like this. This is the only reason why I'm actually in Kaspa pretty much, is because of that fair launch aspect. And so just another tweet that was going around. And the funny thing is most FUD, I'm just going to say this, most FUD leads to KDA. I don't know why, but almost anytime you see FUD on Kaspa, make sure you check their profile. You go in the comments of the tweet. You'll eventually find KDA mentioned. I don't know why this is a thing, but they're just out to get us, I guess. So I prefer KDA to Kaspa. Kaspa is a speed mine scam. They set up a mining code to exploit the flawed emissions curve they designed themselves, and then check PA of pre-mined coins to understand the risk of gas. The real opportunity among new transparent L1 is alpha. So he literally says he prefers KDA, and then he just also says that he prefers another coin as well. So he's just trying to say Kaspa's bad, buy my other two coins that were probably not fair launch at all. And if you do your research on KDA, it's not fair launched, and they have actually a whole company basically that has allocated funds to it, and it's a whole issue. But he takes an article from Jonathan way out of context here, saying, at the same time, Kaspa is neither attempting nor pretending to be fair launch coin. He just takes that quote and just runs with it. But Jonathan's making the point that it's not fair because Bitcoin is extremely unfair to people born in 2030. He's trying to make the point that you could say fair launch, but if you really think about it, technically it's not fair. It's not fair that I didn't know about Kaspa back in 2021. But that's not the point. The point is that anyone, if they did know about it, could get in. That is the whole point of fair launch, and that there was no VCs, no ICO, no pre-allocated coins to any private investors before the public could get access. All of us could get access if we know about it, and when we know about it, we can get access. That's the whole point of being fair launch. So Shai also says here, calm reminder that a coin can be VC funded and fair launched. And this is because the VC funding went to DAGLabs, which was researching Kaspa, but they never launched Kaspa like with coins that were allocated to Polychain or allocated to the employees of DAGLabs. No, they funded DAGLabs to research Kaspa, start building it. Then Polychain DAGLabs agreed to launch, and then they started mining with the community, which from my understanding and from the research, if you do the research, the community was actually pretty strong. There was a good amount of people that were mining, and it was competitive. And that literally everybody in the Cas community is aware of the Polychain seed investment, which was transparent from the start. It was announced in press release 6 months before main launch. It is clearly stated in the wiki. I personally reiterated this in interviews. What more do you want? And you know, it's just repeat, rinse and repeat that we have to keep saying that this is fully known. This should be known by the Kaspa community. It should be one of the first things you learn about, because it's important to be able to, when you see these tweets and stuff like that, you have answers to them. So for the 1,000th time, that Kaspa's fairly launched means there was no pre-mine, ICO, speed mine, or any form of pre-allocation or any other kind of SAF between DAGLabs and other entity. This does not contradict the fact that there were investors who decided to invest in the project. When DAGLabs shut down after mainnet was launched, the remaining budget was used for mining. We mined a little short of 800 million Cas 840, half of which was given to the investors and the other half was divided among DAGLabs employees. If you are so shocked to find out that a VC can find an investment into a fairly launched project profitable, and B, developers of fairly launched projects also want food in their fridge and a roof over their head, you probably shouldn't be meddling with finances in the first place. And so, honestly, you got to remember too, you know, these people mined Kaspa, but this was their job. Their job was working at DAGLabs, and they needed to get paid. So, you know, when they got paid the Kaspa, probably most people, some people had to sell it right away to pay for life. And so it's not like, you know, this allocation was locked up and this company just is holding this Kaspa forever now. It's not the case. Of course, some people may have millions and millions of Kaspa. I think I read in the Discord that someone was open and said, yeah, I have 10 million Kaspa, like, and honestly, I tell people, like, welcome to the free market. It's almost like getting upset if that like Tesla or MicroStrategy is buying Bitcoin. It's like, that's basically how it is when you're getting upset that Polychain is buying or mining Kaspa in the beginning when it was launched. Like, adoption is so much faster now, and that's why, anyways, if you really are worried, you just go and look at the block explorer and you can see the whole entire supply. You could see the top addresses. You can literally see that in the top 10, it is mainly exchanges. There are some addresses here that, of course, have a ton. But again, it's not even 1% of the supply, these addresses here, except for just this one right here that is 1.2% of the supply. Doesn't matter. The rest of it belongs to a ton of exchanges. And not only that, some of them belong to some funds here to Kaspa for development. So, you know, it's pretty clear. It's pretty open. Most of the supply is in circulation regardless. The rest of the supply is going to go to the miners that are coming online now. As you can see, our pHs are rising a ton. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and understand this DAGLab and Polychain investment concerns. But if you guys are new around here, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't gotten a hardware wallet for your Kaspa, check the links down below for Tangem or OneKey. I have discount codes on all of those. And also, if you want to join the Patreon and support my work here on this channel, you can go check that out down below in the description. So, as always, don't be average, be different.